This is Jared Lakefield, a novel by Don Fenssler, part number 26. Post-game. In the locker room, I could not stop fucking crying, and then I would laugh and scream. The players were looking at me like I had gone fucking insane, for this was so unlike me. But some of them were also crying and laughing and screaming. People who also did not usually show or feel such emotion. What was happening to us? What happened was we had won the national fucking championship. St. Cloud State had never even won a league championship or tournament or even a fucking pissing contest, and now we were national champions of the NAIA. No one could ever take this away from us. I say we, of course, but it was Jared Lakefield. This weighed heavily on me and somehow both enhancing and diminishing my joy. I did not see him in the locker room. I walked around amid the celebration, but I did not see Jared. I looked and looked. Where was Jared Lakefield? I had to see him and say something to him. I fucking became obsessed. Several of the other players and coaches sensed that I was looking for Jared, and they took up the search. "Jared," we shouted. "Jared, where are you? Get out here, Jared. You are not hiding this time. We're going to do this right. Join us in our fucking celebration, Jared Lakefield." We were in a jovial mood. We shouted some obscenities at Jared, laughing. Yelling obscenities at Jared Lakefield did not seem right, but we were too happy to control ourselves. This was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. We had a vague feeling, a vague knowledge that this was going to be the fucking highlight of our stupid little lives. Something we would bore people talking about until our bones turned to fucking sawdust. We wanted to drink it in, and in order to drink it in right, we needed Jared Lakefield, but he was nowhere in fucking sight. We went back to the celebration, but the air had gone out of us, in a way. It seemed strange that Jared would not be celebrating with us, and some of us said things like, he should have at least fucking waited around for a few minutes and been a part of our team for a few fucking minutes. What, is our breath that fucking bad? But then we all felt a punch between the eyes, this punch being the truth. This was not a St. Cloud victory, really. It was a Jared Lakefield victory. He could have won this fucking game and every fucking game with a pile of baboon poop. We just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Then more importantly, we remembered that Jared Lakefield was something much bigger and more important than just a basketball player. And what was going on was something much bigger and much more important than a national championship, though we had no idea what at this time. We never talked about it except to say brilliantly fucking things like, "What a fucking ride this is." I went home to my wife, Jennifer. I felt so tired. There was the joy still in my heart, but there was more weariness than I had ever experienced in my life. At home. My wife, Jennifer, had been at the game, but had gone home shortly after it was over because she wasn't feeling well. I got home, and even though my wife had seen the game and I wanted to talk about it and did talk about it, she hadn't seen the ending. Maybe she had seen the game, but she did not really understand what happened, understand in the way I did. I wanted her to understand what I saw. I wanted her to understand what I understood about Jared Lakefield. And then she said, suddenly, "I understand what you are feeling, Miss Shawn. Please understand that I understand what you are feeling. But I have the same feeling, but I just couldn't take it anymore and had to leave." "This is the biggest thing ever in my life," I said to Jennifer, then quickly qualified with, "except for marrying you, of course." I was trying to lighten the mood. I wanted to just be happy because we had won the national championship and I was one of the great, brilliant fucking coaches. "This is the biggest thing in either of our lives," said Jenner, looking away from me with infinite sorrow. I loved my wife, but I didn't understand her words now or her sadness. Somehow this game and the entire season were in another realm. I don't mean it was better and happier, just in a different realm. Bigger. The game and the season were like a religious experience. Religious? Had I gone mad talking fucking like this? Lots of people had experienced marriage and children, but only a few of us had experienced this time with Jared Lakefield. I wanted to talk more about the game. When we got so far behind, somehow I thought it was going to end, I told Jennifer. Jared had never let us down before, but I got the feeling that it was all going to end and he would not shoot. He would not save us. Do you know what I mean? I knew he would start to play hard, Jennifer said. He often coasts at times, just letting things happen around him, not only the basketball court, but everywhere. I watch him. But, believe me, Michonne, he wanted a championship just as bad as you. That's just it, I said. I don't think he really cared about it that much. All those superstars, even superstars like Jared Lakefield, care about it, she said. They want to win and score and see their names in the paper, even Jared Lakefield. Jennifer seemed angry now, angry at me and at Jared Lakefield. She went from sadness to anger, and I didn't understand what was going on. Obviously, something fucking weird was going on, something totally beyond my control or ability to comprehend. I felt like a blind man in the fucking deepest, darkest cave on Neptune. Don't you see, Jennifer, I said, getting somewhat heated and irritated. He doesn't care or need any of that publicity or glory. I've seen him score 2 points in a game, and I've seen him score 72, and he is no different. He looks and acts the same, no matter what the score or how he's playing. You have never met anyone like Jared Lakefield. He does seem to be in his own world, Jennifer said. Sometimes after games I felt like walking up to him and saying, "Nice game," but somehow that didn't seem right. I would have felt silly. I say that all the time to other players and coaches and don't feel silly. There's something different about him for sure, but I don't know what it is. That's right, I said. You're right. There is something different about him, and I don't know what it is. He always seems to know what to do, but he makes you feel like you have no fucking idea what to do. Oh, sorry. Like when that guy with the knife tried to rob us, he did everything right, and it turned out okay. Or the time those drunk, dumb crackers in that hick town gave us trouble. He was so calm. My heart was racing 500 miles per hour, but he was as calm as a mountain stream. I paused and remembered something. And the deal with the burning car. Jennifer and I looked at each other. We were carrying on a conversation, but both of us seemed to be elsewhere. He seems so detached, Jennifer said. He has those dead, passionless eyes, and yet they seem so alive at the same time. Another thing that bugs me, I said, is that he is the greatest basketball player on the planet, and yet when I am with him, I don't think about basketball. Even when I'm watching him play, basketball does not come to mind. I can't explain it. It's so weird. And then, like a Muhammad Ali punch, something hit me, and I started to cry my fucking eyes out, and then Jennifer did too, and we hugged each other tighter than we ever had before in our whole life. I don't know what was happening to me. I don't know what was happening to us, to our world. I didn't feel bad or sad, but I could not stop the tears. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to know what is happening, I sobbed.